there's projects, so different groups. I know William Cox is in the back there. The old timers recognize him as he's been here for a couple months last time, a couple of years last time you were here, I guess. But I asked him as a visitor. It's been so long since I've seen him here. But past president of TAR, and he's got some fun giveaways as well later tonight. We'll let him handle giving that away. Thank you. Welcome to the floor.
Thank you so much. And we got a few handouts. If you want to pass those down that way, and hopefully, if you want to make notes, you can. Or if you want us to shoot it to you electronically, we can do that too. Someone asked how I got involved in this. How many people here have kids? How many people have children? Okay. It's amazing what happens when you have children. An 8-year-old son's basketball game got me into this. Believe it or not, I was sitting in a game one night, and I was talking to a friend, my son's, one of his best friends' dad, and we got talking, and he is a surveyor. And we started talking about just work and related. I'm just a great guy. Our families know each other pretty well. And we started talking, he starts talking about drones, and so the conversation keeps going, and I go home and do a little research, and I'm like, man, this is fascinating. This is really cool. And realize that this is really developing, and realize that there's a need for business owners. I love business stuff. Doesn't matter really what it is, and it's fun. And so a basketball game got me into drone law. We have started a section in our office to handle this, and our idea is this: we want to be hopefully the go-to for companies and people in North Carolina to get licensing. That is, we want to help people be able to get the license and authorization so they can fly drones commercially and then answer questions. We don't normally do criminal law. And my hope and prayer is that none of you will be coming to see me in a couple of years saying, James, guess what happened? And you're cited criminally for your use of drones. But nonetheless, we're going to look at some of the proposed legislation. And you should never ever call me about criminal law, okay? You got that? You should always drive safely. You too. You're too young. You don't even know. But no speeding. Always under speed. Wear your seatbelt, okay? So anyway, we'll have a good time tonight. How many people here are on Twitter? How many people? How about LinkedIn? If you want to, I'm trying to connect up with people who are really smarter than I am, which is not a real hard thing to do. That's why I brought my father-in-law. Because he understood everything you just said a minute ago, and I understood about a quarter of it. I don't know the technical side of the fun stuff. I just want to play with the toys and learn the law about how to help my clients. But you guys are the smart folks on the technology side. But the reason I say that is I would love to link up with you on Twitter or either LinkedIn just to keep the conversation going. And this is a developing area, obviously, as you know. We're going to look at a couple things tonight. One is the current law in North Carolina, and that's being developed. Also, we're going to look at the new efforts across the country, what's going on in other states. We're going to look at the FAA, what they are doing or are not doing. And I know I'm being recorded, so I've got to be a little bit careful. And then we're going to look at commercial flights versus hobbies. So if I need your promise, if you're recording this, that if I start getting off on the FAA too much, you'll just nix the recording and we'll go from there. How many people have looked at the proposed bill that passed the House in North Carolina? You read through it some? Pretty interesting stuff. A little bit of a history. It's the House bill is 1099. Or excuse me, 1099. It's called an act to regulate the use of unmanned aircraft systems. And the bill was filed May 5th of this year and passed the third reading. It's got to get read 3 times in each chamber before it passed. Passed third reading in the House. Passed first reading on the 30th. Actually, I think it's in the Senate. But I tell you, the one thing that was really interesting is that's fairly quickly. Once it was filed, it went through some committee stuff in the House, came out, and it got a very high passage rate on the second reading. I don't know what the third reading was, but hardly anybody objected to it in the House, which was great. So when I saw this happening, I was like, man, this is awesome. Maybe it's going to, no pun intended, fly through the Senate too, and we'll have law. Well, it got to the Senate first reading, and then it went to subcommittee, or the Committee on Rules and Operations of the Senate. I've tried to find out the status with the Senate, what's happening. I don't have a result to tell you right now. Yes?
Who are the sponsors?
I don't have it in my head, I'm sorry. The question is who are the sponsors? If you shoot me an email, I'll get you the list of the sponsors. It's easy to do. But I've tried to find out what the Senate's plan is. You know, they're gone right now. They are planning on coming back later on this year. So I don't know if they're gonna take it up that quickly or not. But we're gonna talk about sort of the landscape of the law and why it's important for us to be, North Carolina to be hopefully on the forefront of it. Many other states across the country are adopting legislation. There is a lot of interest and a lot of good economic reasons why we in North Carolina should be leading this forefront with use of, in a positive, absolutely. There's a lot of business owners, companies that are already investing in North Carolina. So, I mean, it's just this is an exciting area. You're 13, is that right? How old are you?
13.
Sir?
13.
13. My hope and prayer is, how old are you, sir, young man?
Me?
No, I'm sorry, you're the younger guy behind you,
Young
sorry.
guy.
How old are you? 4? I hope by the time you get to 3rd or 4th grade that this is just gonna be sort of normal stuff. And for y'all, I'm telling you, you're sitting in an area, you're listening to the conversation tonight that it's just unbelievable in the sense that what's gonna happen, how it will develop. I'm hoping you look back in 5 or 10 years ago, it's sort of like us, I remember when the fax came out. You know what a fax machine is? You ever seen that? Okay. But I mean, when the fax came out, we were pretty impressed. Well, I'm hoping.
Roll the TV.
That's right, yeah. No, I wouldn't, don't admit that right now. But you're right, I mean, we've seen a lot of technology boom, and I'm hoping that this is gonna happen pretty quickly. So I was pretty impressed that it got through the House that quickly and then got to the Senate. It's gotten snagged up. I've got a few phone calls in to find out what the Senate plans to do with it. But I want to give you a little bit of a look at it too. It was, hopefully you remember this or you may know it. It was recommended by the Legislative Research Committee. There was about a year and a half to 2 years of information gathering across a wide variety of industries and through the Legislative Committee, and that's sort of how the staff came together to put the proposed legislation together. The Senate is going to consider it now. Likely will be, there's probably going to be changes, more than likely. I mean, it would be nice if the Senate would go ahead and pass it, but more than likely there's going to be some changes. Not certain into the details, of course. Looking at the proposed law, it's looked at some of the definitions. Model aircraft is a key definition. It's defined as any invention, either now known or hereafter invented, used or designed for navigation of or for flight in the air, and that's sort of an abbreviated definition. And also flown solely for hobby or recreational purposes, and not used for payment, gratuity, or benefit, or any photo, video, image produced by the aircraft. So that's the definition of model aircraft. Yes, sir.
I was confused by that last statement. Not used for payment, gratuity, or benefit.
Or any photo,
or,
video.
and so,
Yeah.
You can do it, but you just can't make money off
Yeah.
okay.
of it. Once you make money off
That's
of
is an
it,
order.
doesn't fall into that
Yeah.
category.
Or benefit,
That's-
or any
that's a
photo,
good
video,
question.
image produced by the aircraft.
Because I was also noticing the or, so it
Is that-
seems to apply.
yeah, be not
payment
used
or
for
for
photo.
aerial. So if I'm
That's right.
not getting money for it, can I still fly an aircraft with video on it? I'm not getting, for hobby purposes.
We'll get to, that's a great question. The question is, can you still fly it for hobby but do video? There's some exceptions, we'll get to it in just a minute. That's a great question. Another definition, unmanned aircraft is defined as any invention now known or hereafter created for flight in air and also operated without the possibility of human intervention from within or on the aircraft and does not meet the definition of model aircraft. So that's how they've defined unmanned aircraft. Here are some general prohibitions. You know, every law, it's like home. You know, you can do this, but you can't do the following. So I'm thinking, general prohibitions. No person or state agency shall use an unmanned aircraft to do any of the following. 1, conduct surveillance. Okay, that sort of makes sense. Conduct surveillance of a person or dwelling occupied without the person's consent. So again, I can't take one and fly it by your house without your consent and take pictures of y'all inside. Okay, can't do that for surveillance purposes. private, real property without owner's consent or the lessee. So you can't fly over someone else's property without their written consent. Or, excuse me, without their consent, doesn't say written, without their consent. Or the lessee's consent. Also, if someone has an easement, that would work as well. You could use that, they have to consent if if someone has an easement over the property.
Really?
Yes.
Because I have an easement over the house I just bought. I can't fly over that easement?
No, if you own if you own it, yes. If you have, because it's yours.
I own the house, but
Yes.
there's an easement that goes
Oh,
through.
you're fine. No, you're
Oh,
fine.
oh.
Now, what that's saying is, for example, let's say there's an easement that runs across the land, and there's a house on that easement, which is pretty rare, or let's just say it's a road. There's an easement to get across property to another piece of property. What you can't do is run it down that property just for the purpose of that property. Because the owner of the easement would need to agree to it. It's sort of like the owner of the land. But if you're crossing over that, because it really goes back to what your purpose is. If your purpose is to just cross over that easement area, I think you're fine. Because that's the overall owner of the real property. So you're okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Also, you can't photograph an individual without their consent for the purpose of publication, with the exception of news gathering. I thought this was interesting. News gathering, newsworthy events, or places of where the general public is invited.
So reporters can spy on people.
Well, I don't know.
Larger than that.
I don't know. It says you can't photograph an individual without their consent for publication, which is the purpose of the publication, with the exception, if it's news gathering, then, okay, maybe so, that's an exception, if it's news gathering, if it's a newsworthy event, okay, or event places where the general public is invited.
So does that mean that paparazzi or gathering news not from fewer individual?
I don't think it means you have to be a photographer. I think it means
Right.
anybody photographing it for public is. well,
And
around.
this is all with respect to UAVs. I mean,
Yeah,
they're-
that's right, all this is
okay.
UAVs. Well, you know, you bring a really good question about whether or not the people are doing this. Let's just think about how news has changed in the last 10 years. Think about the video you see on the news that's shot by individuals with their cell phones. So if you are somewhere and something's happening, is that a newsworthy event? Probably so. Yes, sir.
Okay, this is where I start splitting hairs almost immediately. I send my autonomous device up. It collects images as part of its autonomous flight. I'm not doing it with the express intent of conducting surveillance, but I accidentally capture an event.
Right.
That's all of a sudden becomes newsworthy. Where am I in the midst of this law?
Did you publish it?
Well, not yet, but
Not yet.
I'm holding on to something of potential value now.
You know, and here's interesting, I noticed this in the law. They did not define surveillance in the law.
Okay.
I'm sure it's defined, I know it's defined in other places in general statutes, but it's not defined in this section yet.
Okay, let's take it even further. So we haven't defined surveillance. I'm okay, when I do my experiments flying up above the tree line over my neighbors' yards, I'm now kind of doing incidental surveillance of my neighbors, even though I have no interest in what they're doing or, for that matter, care, because I'll destroy the images anyway, but I still have captured the essence of the image of their yard.
See, when you get charged and you come to me and say, James, what do I do? My defense for you is going to say, well, you weren't doing surveillance. You were doing something else, because you weren't doing it to watch your neighbors.
Well,
You know.
well, and now there is general. Okay, in the
I'm
next,
just- yeah.
in the next slide, he actually does have.
There's
some
gonna,
of that.
there's gonna be a lot, these are great questions, because this is what we all have been dealing with, and the legislature's been dealing with. Yes, sir.
How about personal security? If I have a house and I want to fly a drone over my land to prevent, so I can see if people are entering or coming in my house at a time when I don't want them to,
That's fine, because it's over your house,
Yeah.
not a problem. Problem is now, when you go up a little bit higher, you make sure you get your neighbors, you make sure you go out to the property lines, but it unfortunately bleeds over, and then
Yeah.
you've got the back door and front door of their house, I mean, I'm playing with facts.
Right.
I don't know, the FAA would not approve that right now.
I'm sorry, what, say it again, sir?
If a person walks onto your property, you're surveilling on your property, but it's still a person without the
It-
person's consent.
Yeah, but because of what you're doing, I think it's gonna be accepted. It's gonna be allowed, said that way. Some other prohibitations. You cannot use infrared or similar thermal imaging technology. Shall be for the sole purpose of, it can be for the sole purpose of scientific investigation, research, mapping, evaluating Earth's surface, and so forth. So they tell you what you can do, but you're not supposed to use it just for the technology by itself, which is interesting. Other violations, or general prohibitations, violations, any person subject to unwarranted surveillance or photo is taken, if there's a violation, they shall have a right to sue. And the damages right now is $5,000 for each photograph or video that's published or disseminated, plus the cost of attorney's fees. I was thinking through this. Okay, let's say I take a photo of someone and I violate this policy, I violate the law, and I publish it. I'm just playing with this. I don't know. I don't know the law. I don't know this question right now. I'm not sure it's been defined. I publish it, and NNO picks it up, WRL picks it up, it goes viral. Is each time that gets put out published, or does it publish just one time? See what I'm saying?
I think if you published it, that's the one time you have disseminated it. And when someone else picks it up, then it becomes an issue of, if they license it from you or get your approval
Right.
and they publish it, then you have disseminated it again.
And if I-
for them with your approval.
If I give it to WRL, if I put it on LinkedIn, Facebook, it's every time I'm putting it out, I'm just asking the question. I don't think it's not
I think if
defined.
you read the English, right, it says 5K for
5,000.
each is the operative word here.
Each
Photograph
or
and video.
That's published.
Not for each
That is
time.
published. It doesn't say published 5 times. It says for each
Yeah.
one. So each
photo
relates
or video.
to the photograph or video.
Right.
Why they don't just categorize videos as a collection of photos?
And the reason is, I was just walking through this, thinking about it over the weekend, thinking, I can see some aggressive plaintiff having this happen to them, and the number goes out of control, way out of control. Yes, sir.
So the moral of the story is to start one video stream, never stop it. You got $5,000 one video stream, it runs forever. I got one video stream.
Huge video stream, that's right. Another prohibition, no unmanned aircraft system may be launched or recovered from any state or private property without consent. I was just thinking through this, okay, wait a minute. I can't do it from the street then. And I can't, unless I have your consent, I have to be on my own property or someone else's property, but it can't be on the state property. Yes, sir.
There are some model airplane clubs that have permission to fly
Right.
from,
Those aren't unmanned aircrafts, those are model
they are,
aircrafts.
and by FAA's definition, any RC model is an unmanned aircraft.
With respect
This
to
is North
this law,
Carolina's statute.
we're talking about this
Model
statute.
aircraft.
It says unmanned aircraft.
In the
system.
earlier
He
slide,
He
it
defined that, that's a commercial use. So a
No,
hobby.
actually, it's
No.
not commercial use. It's not defined as commercial use. Unmanned aircraft is not defined as commercial use.
no, but he defined
It's-
hobby.
Any invention,
If you gotta-
not, yeah, operate without the possibility of human intervention. Is basically what it
The
says.
last
Yeah.
model
But
the
did
last
that,
grade and does not meet the definition of model aircraft. I was curious on that min actually, on that one slide. To exclude model aircraft from this set.
So, going back to the question, what were you gonna say? You go back, you said.
well, the way it was worded,
That's it.
is it a inclusive law or is it just for UAVs?
Well, could we look at those two slides again?
Yeah,
Where you define
Very beginning.
model aircraft and then you define unmanned aircraft?
Sure.
And unmanned aircraft does not include model aircraft.
And how does the North Carolina law relate to the FAA
Can't,
law?
it's not,
FAA,
it's not in this subject.
That's a great question. What's the difference? FAA is probably gonna control, and we don't know what the FAA is gonna be yet. But
Well,
more
we-
than likely, FAA is gonna control.
We have their new proposal,
Yeah,
which we're very unhappy with.
yeah, but, you know, it's not gonna be that.
So the
I
thing
don't
I don't
think. I hope
understand, what I don't understand is, like in terms of the FCC for communication, there's a law that says you can't make a state law that governs the airwaves because that's the FCC's domain.
Right.
I would assume that there's a similar law that says the same thing about the FAA, that they own the airspace and they govern the airspace, and I don't exactly understand how the states can even get away with having a law that could be enforced
Well, so
when
far,
that's the FAA's domain.
FAA is gonna say every state gets to make their own rules regarding, some elements of the airspace. They will have, without a doubt, majority control.
Have they done that with respect to manned aircraft so far?
Yes.
yes.
So, and the.
I'm not aware of any state laws that govern manned aircrafts. Not that I'm an
Actually,
expert
it
or
is.
anything,
There's a
but
whole
I've,
section. There's a whole section in the general statutes.
because they didn't cover that in flight school.
Yeah,
It's
I don't know.
it's interesting.
yeah.
But they may not disagree with the federal.
And I haven't compared them.
It may have to do with like notices to airmen or something like
I
that.
don't know.
But
But let's look real quick at the definitions. We were talking about definitions. Model aircraft, defined as any invention, that's out of the statute, flown solely, current statute, solely for hobby or recreational purposes, this is model, not used for payment, gratuity, or so forth. So that model is really go back to, this is the real key part, flown solely for hobby or recreational. That's the model.
Okay.
Going to unmanned aircraft operated without the possibility of human intervention.
Okay, and that's where I got another thing where I got to split hairs, because I have a device where software autonomously flies it, but if it gets into, if it even looks like it has a possibility that it's going to get into trouble, well, the radio is back to the console, and I can take over flight, direct control on the flight. So
but you're not in or on.
But you're not within or on the aircraft. That's the difference. Intervention from within
Oh,
or
within.
on the
Okay.
aircraft, yeah.
All right.
That's how they distinguish the two.
Okay, so, okay.
Yeah, so you're
I'm still on
controlling
it.
it,
Right.
but you're not on it or in it.
So I'm wondering, on that last statement on the previous, the model aircraft definition about the photos or videos,
Yes.
does that mean that if it's a model aircraft and it takes photos or videos, that it's considered not model but unmanned?
So what you're using those for? If you want payment?
There aren't just two categories here.
No.
I
mean,
think
he's
all
defining
model
two
aircraft
categories,
are
but all the
unmanned.
things we're talking about don't fit into
Just two
those
categories.
two categories. Right.
So go back and ask your question.
So when you were reviewing the definition,
Right.
I'm still concerned about that photo or video part.
Yeah,
And it's saying it's not used for, skip the payment gratuity part, not used for any photo or video image.
produced by the aircraft.
So.
And I don't know why they've got that. I don't
If
know,
that's part of the
interesting, yeah.
definition of model aircraft, which means, yeah, you're flying it for hobby and recreational
Right.
purposes, and you're not taking any pictures.
It doesn't say not taking pictures, it says that it's not used for payment, consideration, gratuity, or benefit directly or indirectly charged, demanded, received, or collected by any person for the use of the aircraft or any photographic or video image produced
Okay.
by the aircraft.
All right, okay.
That's a parsing error then.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
fine. All right, does that help? Okay. And you know, think about your experience thus far in this industry. And think about the legislature. You know, there's maybe one or two people there that might be possibly as interested as you are in this.
You think there's that many?
Yeah, I'm assuming, I'm hoping that there may be.
We're all here.
Well, hopefully there's a few that are on the payroll of some people who are interested.
Yes, yeah, that's right, you hope. All right, what are the criminal charges? Unmanned aircraft with a weapon, obviously that's gonna be a violation. Interference or disruption of a manned aircraft with unmanned aircraft, violation. Yeah,
Define weapon.
it's not defined.
So you can't go hunting with it?
They actually exclude, you can't, you know, you're right, you can't hunt with it.
You can scout for hunting.
Could you
Okay.
scout, yeah, that, I mean, that would be,
I don't know, I think,
doesn't have a
I'll
weapon.
get, we'll get to
That
it.
thing's
You
not
you
on.
can't.
You got a weapon.
it is on. You gonna stop?
Yeah.
please.
All right. Well, see, you can't use it
Can't use it
for,
hunting.
you can't use it for fishing or hunting. Period. Now, I love to fish. I used to hunt.
Oh, okay.
I don't hunt anymore. But I'm thinking, I'm not sure that I'm smart enough to run a UAV looking for the fish. I mean, I always just throw it in the line and, reel it back in, hope you catch it. But obviously, hunting and fishing is gonna be obviously
Do you
a
use
hot
a
spot.
Connect sensor that uses infrared pattern 3D point mapping?
Yeah,
Does that count as infrared imaging?
I don't know.
What's the question?
If you have like a Connect.
But you're not publishing it, are you?
What are you gonna connect on one of those suckers?
Depends on what you reveal with
It's
it.
gonna be pretty heavy.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, they said
It
that
says
all
it's not
that
capturing
topographical
infrared, it's
mapping and all that
capturing-
stuff was okay.
Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, the fact that you're broadcasting it as an RF, modulated RF signal, it's probably not encrypted. That could be interpreted as publication.
I love this group. Man, y'all are good. Okay, so, y'all don't, yes, sir. Can we come back?
It says you can't, on the previous slide, it says you can't retrieve it from state or private property. Private property, I understand
Without
completely.
consent, right.
If it lands on my neighbor's lawn, I gotta go to my neighbor and say, hey, my quadricopter's on your
Right.
lawn, I'll go get it. I can't go to a park and use it?
You can ask the
It's a
ranger.
state park?
You can ask the park ranger.
I think you've gotta get permission. Based on what this is saying, it says state
Who
land.
owns the road?
State or feds.
If my thing lands
Well,
on the
us.
road,
Actually.
I'm not allowed to go get it. I can let the car run over
I
it,
don't know.
destroy
I-
it, but I can't
Obviously,
go get it.
no, that's what the law, proposed law is.
Then you get
Yeah.
a ticket for leaving it.
We can own the road, but the state has a right of way over it. My property line's down the center of the road.
Yeah, if you get, you get technical. I'm just telling you what's proposed. I don't know I don't know where the black road. I'm hoping to be on one side of the table defending or prosecuting, or not prosecuting.
Going back to the definition of weapon.
Yeah.
I have a drone, it goes off to a particular point, and I have a little plastic baggie of flour that I drop on a target. Is that considered bombing or a terrorist?
Proposed FAA rule says that's
A
a
bomb.
federal offense.
On two
To
counts.
drop anything from the UAV.
If any parts fall off of it, it's a violation, and if you're flying it without direct visual contact at all times.
Oh, I'm watching it to make sure it hit the target.
However, that's legal from a manned aircraft.
Well, no,
Manned aircraft.
But this
not
is
if it
stuff-
hits something that damages it.
Right, but there's.
Actually, you can get fined for dropping toilet paper.
Well, there's things like flower bomb contests. and
Contests,
stuff like
yeah.
that
Yeah.
that are arranged, and it's.
Yeah.
With permission.
Sure.
Obviously, we were talking about weapons, interference, and disruption with aircraft. You can't use it for fishing or hunting, that's a criminal charge. You can't publish, for any purpose, images taken with infrared or similar technology revealing individuals, materials, or activities inside a structure without property owners' consent. So, again, using that kind of technology, trying to look in someone's house to tell what they're doing. Obviously, and you know this, there's a huge privacy piece to this that everybody's really concerned about, and probably rightfully so. But it's good to have the conversations early. The proposed law also talks about having training being required. The Division of Aviation of the Department of Transportation is going to be responsible for it. Shall develop a knowledge and a skills test no later than May 31st of 2015.
For commercial.
For commercial purposes. License required for commercial operation. And then also within 60 days of issuance of the FAA regs or guidelines, the DOA shall implement the licensing system. So I have not spoken with anybody in North Carolina with DOA. Has anybody talked to them yet, Division of Aviation? I've got some friends over there I'm going to call to find out if they've actually started looking into this yet. I'm certainly hopeful that they have, to try to figure out how they're going to handle this.
Well, the problem is the issuance of FAA guidelines.
Yeah, well, that's a big one, yeah. But I'm hoping that North Carolina has already started looking into this, because I really think we, as citizens, we have an opportunity here to be first in this and be the major leaders across the country. So I'm hoping that maybe the DOA, DOT is going to be working on it. So I'll find out and let you know. How about efforts outside North Carolina? Many of the states obviously have started looking at legislation. Common elements being considered: law enforcement usage when they can and can't use it, land surveying, wildlife tracking, research, search and rescue, and then privacy concerns are all issues that all the states are looking at. According to the NCSL, which they look at state legislatures, it's a national conference of state legislatures. You can get to it at ncsl.org. Great website about all kinds of laws, but certainly looking at UAS laws. This is as of April 9. These are the states in blue.